So I wanted to have some fun and do some plinking in the garden because I hadn't done that for a while, and the weather was actually nice enough today that I was able to get out and do it. So what I'm doing here is just shooting my BSA Hornet air rifle, which is a very cheap 2.2 air rifle. This is standard spring break barrel. It has iron sights on it. I don't use any sort of scope with it because I actually bought this rifle just to use it as a cheap plinking rifle, and it's really good at that. I'm using SMK Spitfire domed pellets, which are very cheap and nasty pellets, but good enough for just back garden plinking, which is why I like them, because they're very cheap in bulk, shooting cans and things like that. So to start with, I'm just shooting a resetting spinning target, and that's obviously works fairly well. I'm only about 5 or so yards away from it, if that, but it's just to get a bit of practice in before I start shooting targets a bit further away, and to check my iron sights correct. When I was filming this video, the iron sights were near enough correct, but I did notice when I was taking some shots at longer ranges that the pellets weren't going exactly where I thought they'd go, but it was good enough for the most part, and obviously still enjoyable to shoot. What I'll do is, as I go through the video, I'll tell you a bit about what I'm shooting at, but I'll also sometimes cut some of the footage down so you don't have to keep watching me break the barrel and keep putting a new pellet in every time. So what I'm shooting here is an old pine bed headboard, and this thing's very thick. You can't actually even shoot it with crossbow bolts from high-powered crossbows. So what this is you know, like really good for shooting with the air rifle because you can just draw a target on it, and obviously there's no danger of the pellets going through. They don't tend to ricochet off of this either because they tend to go about an inch in, if that, and then just get stuck. So what I've got is I've got a circle that's probably a few inches wide. I just drew on with marker pen, and then I can see that from quite far away, so I can just shoot that with the air rifle. Again, this isn't like a really challenging, you know, like super high difficulty shot to take, but it's just quite fun if you want to, you know, quickly reload the air rifle, squeeze off pellets into the sort of middle of the coloured circle, and then, you know, just have a bit of fun doing that. So obviously this is quite a good thing to do if you've got a bit of old plank that's a big enough target that there's no risk of you missing it. Then just painting or sort of using a marker pen to put a circle in the middle of it, then you can have a bit of fun just trying to get shots in the circle. Now here's some clips of me shooting the air rifle, but just put from the opposite way round. So this time I've got the camera tripod quite close to the target, sort of halfway between me and the target, and I'm just using that so you can see what the actual air rifle looks like, because you're probably not going to see much of the air rifle in this video otherwise. But as said, it's a BSA Hornet in 2.2 or 22, depending on what you want to call it, and it's just a very cheap spring break barrel rifle, but it shoots about 10 to 11 foot-pounds I think, so it's fairly decent. For £100 you really can't go wrong with this rifle. Obviously, despite being called BSA, it's not Birmingham Small Arms anymore. It's actually owned by Gamo, I believe, in Spain. So it's kind of, you know, some of the rifles Gamo makes are under their own name, some are under the BSA name. They seem to be very good quality for what they are, even the cheap end ones like this. I have no complaints about this. This is simple enough that they've not tried to add features to the rifle that don't work. The iron sights on this have the fibre optic on them, so it's very clear to see the iron sight even in low light conditions. The front sight is red and the two back sights are green, I believe, or it might be the opposite way around, I can't remember without actually looking at the rifle. But you can get a good sight picture as long as you're not colourblind. So it's quite, as you can see in this video, quite quick to load, aim and shoot. So what I had here is an empty tin of SMK Spitfire pellets, so because it's got sort of a bullseye on the front of the tin, I was using that as a target from a few yards away. Pretty much every shot I fired here went into the target where I was aiming at it, sort of into the bullseye in the middle, but that's not too much of an accomplishment obviously because I'm shooting it from fairly close range. Annoyingly, a bit later into this clip, some of the shots I did, I think actually the tin flipped out of frame. So when it gets to that section of the video, I'll just cut it so you don't actually have to see all the shots that didn't land on target. But most of the shots I did from the front that went straight through the bullseye, when it flipped over I took some shots from the back, shooting it directly through the middle. But all the shots went exactly where I wanted them to go, within maybe a millimetre or two, so it was all quite fun. So now I'm shooting at the resetting target from about 10 yards away of the iron sight, so I'm not expecting to hit on all of these. Now this shot where I miss is quite interesting because you actually see that the pellet hits the frame that holds the spinner on it. So I guess that shot went a bit up and to the right, but there we go, I just zoomed out the camera and zoomed it back in to prove that I was shooting from quite far away. But I was sort of hitting on average, I guess, every 1 in 3 shots and 1 in 2 shots on this. So what I'm just going to do in a moment is clip this video down to just the shots that hit, because I'm sure that's more interesting for the people watching the video. And that will about wrap this video up. But yeah, the BSA Hornet for £100 is a very good, fun little garden plinking rifle. It's got enough power. If you put a scope on it, I imagine it would actually be quite a good practical spring air rifle, but for the money you really can't go wrong with a rifle like this. Obviously it's not a nice PCP sort of competition shooting rifle, but for a bit of garden plinking or pest control it would be absolutely perfect. But what was interesting on here is nearly all the shots I missed reviewing the footage seemed to have gone slightly high and right than the bigger target that I was shooting at. So I seem to be shooting sort of through the frame with it. So I guess if I was to do this again, I'd need to zero my iron sights so that they're actually, you know, allowing the pellet to go down and to the left really. Because at the moment I think the sight is zeroed, like, you know, the pellets are going up and to the right of where the sight is zeroed. But obviously, if I end up plinking at this range again, I'll probably tailor the sights for that. But for this, it was fairly fun. It was quite nice knowing that when I'm reviewing the footage, I wasn't missing by all that much, and I think it was more the iron sights to blame. So I think by a weird fluke of luck, the shots I was actually landing on the target were probably when I was aiming slightly too low anyway.